Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another edition of Good Table Talk. It's part of our family of podcast webinars that we host around conversations around good. We just love at Made Possible By to share stories of good, to tell you about companies that are connecting with their communities, investing in their communities, and we just love making good loud. I'm Tracy. I always forget to introduce myself, by the way. I'm Tracy. And today I am so excited. I am at the Oklahoma City Thunder Launchpad office today. Made Possible By is proud to be accepted into the Stitch Crew Oklahoma City Thunder Launchpad Accelerator Program for startups. So it's been a fun addition to our world that we get to have lots of perks, but this is one of the perks that we get to be here in their offices today. So here you go. You get to see the cool Thunder stuff going on behind me. You might see somebody famous walk behind me. I don't know. You just never know. So I am excited today. Last month, we hosted a webinar with someone out of South Africa. This month, we are hosting with two gentlemen who are in the States, but they are in different states. We have Adam Kail from Michigan. Where exactly in Michigan are you, Adam?
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you're in the heart of Michigan. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Mr. Ben Rainey, who is in Colorado. Are you technically, where are you? I want to say you're not Longmont. Where are you?
I'm technically in Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado.
The booming metropolis, yeah.
The booming metropolis in Denver, Colorado. Okay, awesome. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I look forward to telling more of your stories. So let's start with a 90-second snapshot of you. Let's go alphabetical, although A and B, you're right there next to each other. So let's go with you, Adam. 90-second snapshot of you. And tell me a little bit about what's your biggest COVID pivot that you've had to make. I know that you have littles in your house, so that always adds to pivots. So
Yeah. So my name is Adam Kail. I'm the CEO and founder of Harrison Gray Search. We're an executive search firm that helps companies throughout the spectrum find talent. Located here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we have a team of about 7 people who are all working from home, and I'm working here. And yeah, that's me. I have 3 kids, ages 10, 8, and 6, and I have a beautiful wife. We've been married for 7 years now. So that's
nice.
90. That's not even 90. That's like 19 seconds.
I know. Look at you. You're just, Adam doesn't
right?
mess around. He just
right. And then I also own a company called Brothers Leather Supply, which is another story, but we do custom leather goods for that business. And
I have to say, Adam, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah.
I'm super jealous because my husband has one of your bags, and I keep contemplating stealing his bag.
Right.
But I'm kind of
Whoa.
Oh, Ben's got one too.
See?
Ben.
Well, people listening on the podcast can't see this, but this is a finely worn, handcrafted leather bag that I use every day in my
Who would have known?
Whoa. Is that one of our bags?
That's your bag, yeah.
What a small world. What a small world. You just never knew, right?
There you go.
What is going on? That's so random.
I love it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm afraid to steal Mike's bag because I'm afraid what I might find down in the bottom of it.
Well, so that's actually how I found out about the bag was Mike. I don't know what he was doing with you guys, Adam, but he said there's this group out of Michigan makes these unbelievable leather products. And, they're not, I don't know. I forget why I don't know. I just went online. I was like, this looks like a sweet bag. I'm going to buy it. And I bought it, and I've carried it ever since for like 5 years now. So it's great.
I love it.
That's insane.
That's
cool.
awesome.
Cool. Glad I said that.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, Ben. Really appreciate the business and the support. I'm glad it worked out for you. So regarding the pivot, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I think just trying to figure out, our company has always set up to work remotely, just for flexibility and all that stuff. So that wasn't really hard. I think the challenging thing was dealing with, emotionally COVID affected everybody differently, from your employees to your kids to your spouse. And so I just think navigating those waters and trying to be empathetic and understanding what everybody is going through, and still try to lead through that has been probably the biggest pivot. Is really just understand. I have to be way more thoughtful, I think, about the people around me and how I respond to them, and really trying to put myself in their shoes, rather than just trying to continue to grow the company or grow revenue or get to work so I can make some calls without being interrupted. And also understanding too that like I still have it really good compared to a lot of people. So I think just trying to keep a healthy perspective on everything and staying positive and moving forward has been probably the biggest pivot I've had to make.
Well, that's really kind of you, because some people would be like, I don't care how you're dealing emotionally. We're just going to push things forward. So that's great.
Yeah.
And you have lots of women in your house, as does Ben.
I do.
You guys have a lot of emotional.
There's a lot of women in my house for sure.
Yes. I think Ben's got you beat, though.
Are all your kids female?
No, I have one boy, 6-year-old, a son.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, 90 seconds. Or if you can beat
90
Adam,
seconds.
you have to go in 18.
Well, I'm not from South Africa or wherever your last guest was from. So I think the most interesting thing about me is I just started my second family with my first wife.
That's a great way to put that. Surprise, baby.
It's a great conversation, either starter or ender, depending on who's the recipient of that is. But I've got 5 daughters. They range in age 17, 15, 13, 12. And then I've got a 4-month-old newborn. This is August of 2020. So we just reset the clock on that whole thing. We had a baby right in the heart of COVID, which was super weird. Yeah. The hospital, procedures and processes and everything was super bizarre. And now we've just got to decide, do we keep adding to the second family, or do we let this little munchkin, kind of rule the roost, so to speak? Yeah. So my 2 common refrains are, I'm a minority in a sorority. And at the end of every day, there's usually someone crying in my house, and the emotions run deep. And normally that person is me. I just absolutely get overwhelmed by the femaleness going on in my house. But it's a lot of fun. It's the only thing I know, and we have a good time with it. So I'm a partner on the professional side when I'm not chasing my kids around and my wife and making sure they're all healthy and happy. I'm a partner at a small business, about 30-person firm. We do business succession planning and insurance advisory services. So we work with family-owned businesses, individual families, things like that, and help them plan for success when it comes to their family business. So that's that.
What's your COVID pivot?
COVID pivot, yeah. So interestingly, I think our pivot was just to learn. We work in a very slow, methodical business anyway. I mean, helping a business successfully transition, give to their kids, whatever, that's a slow process. Even if you're going to sell it, it's a slow process. But learning to operate even slower, which is crazy, was a big pivot for us, because we didn't have any information. Like, nobody did. I'm reminded of the Jim Gaffigan quote about kids, right? He says, having a baby is like you're in the deep end of a pool and you're already holding a couple of babies, and someone just hands you another newborn. Hey, here you go, do with this thing. And so it's kind of like that with the business and the information that nobody had, right? It was, you're drowning in the deep end of a pool and someone hands you a baby and says, here, figure out what to do with it. And so we had to learn to go slow again and not rush through things, not force clients to make decisions too quick, and just kind of go at their pace. Like everybody, we pivoted to Zoom stuff like we're doing today. Mm-hmm. Getting our clients to do that was a challenge. But again, it was what we had to do to kind of survive and thrive even in this weird world that we all live in.
Yeah. Slowing down is hard, isn't it? I read a statistic that the average person since COVID is working 3 hours more a day. That's a big chunk of time.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, we're not slowing down. We're not stopping.
Yeah.
You just keep working, especially if you're working at home, you just keep working. So yeah, good for you, Ben. That's a hard one.
Yeah. I don't know if that's really a pivot, but that's in terms of, just process changes. We didn't get into a new business line. We didn't reorient the whole business. We just said, hey, if we're going to survive, we can't just do things as usual. We got to learn to do things at a new pace, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. It's making everything change, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Everything's changing. So tell me what is unique about doing business in each of your states. Adam, I was thinking about you being in automobile alley kind of area, right? I mean, Michigan's clearly very motor vehicle oriented, and that industry was struggling before COVID. So I
Yeah.
don't know what kind of impact that has on you, or.
Yeah. So it doesn't really have much of an impact on us because we operate nationally for the most
Okay.
part. So I do have clients here in Michigan, but a lot in Denver, a lot in Los Angeles, just basically throughout the country. And what's interesting though is every community handles this differently and is affected by it differently. For example, like my New York and LA clients are like, we're not bringing people back in until next July. Like I have clients that have said people aren't coming back into the office until middle of next summer. And some aren't comfortable onboarding virtually, meaning hiring somebody and bringing them online in the company without bringing them in. So some companies are just waiting. Other companies like in Memphis, or I have clients in Memphis and some in Georgia, they have always been bringing people in for interviews, and they still are staffed because we work in financial services a lot, and those are deemed necessary businesses, so they stay open. And so I've had some clients where they're bringing people in face to face for interviews, and some clients in California are like, we'll interview them we're trying to convince them to interview people over Zoom now, similar to what you were saying, Ben, bringing our clients kind of up to speed and helping them do this. But yeah, so to answer your question, we operate throughout the entire country, but it has been very challenging to kind of get your mind around what each city and community is dealing with, and then trying to cater to their needs that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting to see how the different states respond. I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised to hear that you have people who are until next year not letting anybody in, and then different parts of the country. We traveled recently to Alabama, and you wouldn't know that there was a pandemic happening in Alabama.
Right.
You just kind of roll with it. So I recently left the chambering world, and it was right at April 1st. And so my successor came in, and I'm trying to train her mid-COVID, and the chambering world is lots of networking, lots of meetings, different committees that she needs to go to. None of it.
Right.
But you just have to roll.
Totally.
You just have to go. I know. So Adam, what does it look like in Colorado these days?
Well, oh wait, Adam.
Yeah, are you talking to me or Ben?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ben. I'm sorry.
Well, that was funny. I thought at first, I wasn't sure if you wanted Adam's perspective on Colorado. So sorry.
No, sorry, Ben.
Is it for me?
Yes, you go.
Okay. Yeah, no, Colorado, Colorado's a great state. It's funny. I debated, thinking about this question and thinking about do I really tell you guys how awesome Colorado is? And, of course, Adam, you've been here, same thing with you, Tracy, but Colorado's it's just a great state. There's lots of it. People move here for lots of different reasons, but a lot of it's very independent. There's niches everywhere. So if you like technology, if you like health food, if you like, there's all kinds of stuff going on at the various airports in terms of, traveling, logistics, all that hospitality. So you can find your niche.
Lots of beer.
Yeah, the beer scene, the spirit scene. It's Colorado for work and for community is fabulous because there's so, there's a ton of people moving here. So there's a great way to, to connect with people. It's not like good old boys club, right? Where it's hard to get in with the right crowd of the right people. But it's just, again, you can find your niche, you can excel in it, and you can have a great time doing it.
Okay. So you're just rolling.
Yeah.
You're just rolling. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, you both have started your own businesses. You've worked in larger companies as well. What wisdom would you give to your younger self, right? As you're starting into your business, looking back, what would you tell that young, bright-eyed, fearless person today? Let's go, Adam, let's go back to you.
Okay. Yeah, I actually get this question a lot because I made the decision to start 2 companies at one time, basically, which doesn't make any sense. I would never recommend doing that again. But I did it, we did it. My wife and I did it. And I think the biggest thing that I would tell myself is that really the only thing that matters is sales. When you're in your first 12 to 36 months, that's really all that matters. And depending on your model, we didn't have any funding, there was no we didn't have any investment, nothing like that. It was basically I've got a savings account that I've saved up for this moment, and I'm going to go see if I can do this. And so but what happens is you start to get sidetracked, I think, with other things that you think become priority. And so you're like, we'll have to set up, we have to think about what our company's going to look like in 15 months. We need these bylaws, we need all this other stuff. Or let me think about our marketing, strategy, which are all important, but really the only important thing is bringing money into the company to start, if you're in a for-profit environment like we are. So I think I let myself get sidetracked pretty easily in the beginning, in the early days, especially with I'm the boss. No, I don't report to anybody. There is very little accountability other than, my wife who does our company finances being like, hey, we need to be making X a month to keep the lights on, like other than that, I had no real leadership structure. So I think for me, that's probably the most, aside from not starting 2 companies at one time, I would say, really focusing on setting really clear expectations of what you want, of what your goals are. And that should be generating revenue in a sustainable way. And so that was what I would tell my younger self to focus on more than I did.
I need to hear that. Because I'm in the middle of a startup and I'm not great at sales, but guess what? That's my job. So
right.
Ben, what about you?
I think it's really 2 things. One is business is messy, and to give myself permission to, just kind of roll with the messiness of it, right? I mean, people are imperfect. We all have these idyllic views of how we're going to create these incredible companies and hire these great people and provide for all this, whatever it may be, right? Do all this good in our community, all these different things. And the reality is it didn't go that way to plan in my world, right? Had a ton of success early on. Hired some great people, hired some really terrible people. Made a ton of mistakes. Ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and then that leads into the second piece of, so a lot of success. And then I had a downturn in 08, 09 when a lot of us did who had businesses at the time. And the second piece of advice I give myself is to learn to be content in the season in which you're in, both in the good times and the bad times. So I wasn't content coming out of, great success from let's call it 05 through 09. And then, 2009 through 2012 was just really tough. And I didn't want to be there. I didn't like being there, and I wanted out really quick. And I think I made some bad decisions in that time period because I wasn't willing to just sit and be content and learn the lessons I needed to learn along the way. So, you're going to get both in your life. At least I'm going to. The majority of us are going to have both success and failure. And, to allow that to be part of the messy learning process along the way.
Yeah. Well, business is messy because it's around people, and people are super messy, right?
That's right.
I mean, we're all broken in some unique way. So you have to I'm trying to sum up both y'all, taking the mix of your highest high and your lowest low and just finding some common ground in there. Would you agree with that, Adam? Or do you have something else?
Yeah, no, I think that, like what we're just talking about, everybody is different. Everybody has, some people can get really high when things are great and get really low. Some people you would never know if things are great or things are awful, right? And so I think you could be successful in business, in my opinion, having both of those, like being at either extreme. I think to piggyback on what Ben just said, though, is, when things are great, things will be great again. Like, it's a thing to think about. And then when things are tough, they'll be tough again. Like, I think sometimes we're conditioned, depending on how you're raised, but you're conditioned to avoid some kind of feeling or some kind of emotion because it's a bad thing and you really want to be in the good thing, right? Like, whatever that is. But business doesn't work that way. There are days, like we had our best year ever last year as a company, and COVID hits, and we're not going to be able to repeat that. Like, we've grown every year since we've started this thing, and we're not going to be able to do that this year. It's going to be impossible. And it's about having the maturity and the ability to say, hey, we had a tough year back in 2015, or we didn't grow as much as we thought we would, and we had great years after that. And 2020 is going to be tough, but we'll have great years after this. And it's just, I think, just to piggyback on what Ben said, is that's really important to be able to navigate that emotionally and not let it affect your day-to-day production and output.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I had a friend of mine in college, Connie Huey, told me that I try to plan for no pain, that I can be a super controlling person, and so because I want my life to stay right here.
Right.
That's not reality, right? It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. And Ben, I want to encourage you because I knew you during your tough downtimes, and I wouldn't have known that you were having those horrible, horrible downtimes had you not told my husband or your struggles, and because you just kind of rolled with it. So
that's part of the process too, is there's nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, it just is, the whole is what it is saying. It just, I was dealt a hand. I had, like everybody else, we had to like kind of just buck up and deal with it.
Yeah.
I do think in hindsight, and it's kind of one of those things I was thinking, I wish I'd have done a lot of things differently. I mean, hindsight, you look at it and you go, oh, I should have done X, Y, Z. I should have laid everybody off a year earlier. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have sold that. Again, you just don't have perfect wisdom going through things like that. Again, that's why I said it's messy. And you're just going to make bad decisions on both the highs and the lows. I mean, when you're having success, my experience has been, it's almost, I make worse decisions when things are going really, really well, because I'm not thinking of, to Adam's point about the downturn's going to come again. You're going to have some struggles again. And so I make bad decisions out of kind of hubris or too much enthusiasm, or things are always going to be great, right? And similarly, in downtimes, I tend to make better decisions, I think, because I'm grinding on the business, right? I'm thinking more about, what's really going on and how to actually execute. So, yeah, but you got to kind of have both to go through it and understand, have that life experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So my thing is popping up telling us that we have 9 minutes. So somehow I didn't get on the upgrade version today. So my apologies. So we're going to keep rolling. I'm just giving you the back. Do you see my little timer right there?
I see it. Yeah.
I can see it.
Seeing my
so
timer.
Basically what you're saying is that's the stop being long-winded. Please
No,
answer our
not
concerns.
at all. Not at all. That means I will skip some questions. Made Possible has its own account. Apparently I set you up under my account. So my apologies, but we're going to keep rolling. So tell me, you guys are both really integrated in your communities. So what motivates you to be involved in your communities, and what does that look like for you? Adam, since I said Adam, let's go ahead and go with you. I'm getting you guys all crossed up.
I mean, I think it's just, it's, I just feel like it's what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. I have a good reason other than that. There's this proverb, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I just think that, I'm fortunate to be able to have a company that has, our model is, we have high revenues and we don't have tons of costs. So it's a really, to be in a business like that. My parents ran automotive stores growing up. They had good revenues, but really, really high costs. So they had little margin. And so to be in a business where you have a large margin and you can either pay taxes or you can donate money, I would much rather invest in the people around us. And especially with the leather business too, we've donated tons of products to, golf outings or whatever to help, or churches that need journals for their small groups, just things that we can do with our product, with our money, with our time that, help organizations do what they're good at. Right. And so, that's what's really special about what you guys do is, trying to figure out a really cool way to highlight that. And it's been really fun to kind of plug in and see what other companies do in a really neat way. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. So you see it not as an obligation, but as kind of a privilege.
I think when people do it out of obligation, it smells like it. It doesn't, what's the point if your heart's not in it? I mean, I get it. There's if you give $1 million and your heart's not in it, it's still $1 million. So that's great. But I do believe that giving is a hard issue. And so I think you have to have, and contributing or giving your time, whatever giving means, it's got to come from a place of a heart that wants to give and wants to help out. And so I think that's the whole point. It's conditioning yourself to think about people and opportunities where you can really have an influence. So
great. Thank you. Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'd echo what Adam said. He said it really well. It's not even something I would consider not doing. I want my kids to be raised in a community that looks a certain way. And if I expect it to look a certain way, I can't expect everyone else to carry the water to make it look that way, right? I need to be a part of that process. So if I value good schools, I need to be involved in the schools. I need to be talking with the administration. I need to be engaged with those organizations that are doing that. Mentoring, here in Denver, there's a couple of great organizations I've been a part of for the last 15, almost, 18 years now. That work with the kids in Denver that don't have the great schools, that don't come from a lot of times 2-parent households and have the same level of income and things like that. And again, I don't view it as this obligation or this have to, like I'm saying. I view it as a privilege, and I wouldn't view it as an obligation, but in a good way, like one of those good things that we get to do, not that we have to do, right? And it's just one of those things that, boy, just comes, and to Adam's part about the heart, when you've got it, it's just, boy, it's so fulfilling. And so in a weird way, it becomes this kind of self-fulfilling virtuous cycle where I get way more out of it, I think, than the organization does, because I feel very fulfilled when I do those kinds of things.
That's awesome.
Totally.
Ben, I love one of the ways that you guys give back. Very often we get stuck in the box that it's only writing a check, right? That's the only way we can give back. But Ben has a barn on his property that he has these kids from the schools, probably not in the great neighborhoods, just like he said, come and have meetings and parties out at the barn. And I love
awesome.
that. I love that. It's just opening your home to people. Yeah. And sometimes that's harder, you know?
Well, high school kids are tough, and we found that like anything, bonfires, so basically fire of any type, you know, is a great it's a great way to get them to come together, right? So you have a fire out by the barn, and things get talked about, and good things happen.
That's awesome. I love that. Like you said, people are messy, so we just light a fire and they show up.
That's right.
So both y'all, do you think that it's okay for businesses to talk about the good that they're doing in the communities? Adam, let's jump back to you.
I mean, of course, I think it's great. And maybe it's just because I don't know, maybe I think I look for it more than most people do, but I always want to make sure that a company's doing it I just want to make sure that it's not a marketing play. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, $1 million to a charity is great. Don't get me wrong, but I've worked at companies where we do these things, and it was really about generating more leads. It wasn't really about. There was no talk of what we did afterwards. There was no follow up. If we gave our time, we went and built a park or whatever we did as a company. So that's why the stuff that we give to at Harrison Gray and Brothers are things that we, really value. Like to what Ben was saying, like they value good schools, spend time with the schools, right? We want to see fewer people on the streets. So we have a couple really good. Ministries here in town that help with homelessness. And so we give our money, or we spend our time helping them, right? Because these are things that we value as a company and as people at the company. And so I think it's great that companies talk what they do. I just think that, if a company's doing something, it should be to do it regardless of, and you shouldn't be expecting anything to get out of it, because what's the point? That's not giving, that's marketing.
Mm-hmm. So. I like how you said earlier, you can smell it, right? You can smell it if it's, Ben, what do you say?
Yeah, inauthentic giving is very transparent, right? And it's key to do it out of the right place in your heart. Remind me of the question again, because I was so engrossed in Adam's answer, I forgot what you were asking.
That's okay. Is it okay for businesses to do what they do?
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is by Winston Churchill, and he said, "By the courage of one man," and I would put in parentheses woman, the spines of many are stiffened. And he spoke about that in the World War II context, right? But I love that phrase and I love that quote, because I believe that by our actions, again, done appropriately and done authentically, we encourage and we inspire courage in other people. We inspire generosity in other people by telling of acts of generosity, right? By us doing this conversation today, hopefully other people will be motivated to take action in their own communities.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of our calling and part of our purpose and passion in life, and the things that we engage in is to encourage others to find that. It doesn't have to be the things that we do, but it needs to be something in order to give of yourself.
Wow, I like that quote. I'm gonna have to go look that down. I love Winston Churchill, anyways. He just anybody World War II is pretty got some good, hard, heavy, meaty quotes. So
that's awesome. Right.
That's awesome. Well, again, we're going to have to shut down quick. So my apologies. I usually get a chance to do some shout outs, but I'm shutting you off. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Again, I want to thank you, Adam and Ben, for joining us today. Thank you for watching our Good Table Talk today. Made possible by, we say we love to make good loud. So join us in making good loud and keep being invested in your community. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.